Okay, so we're just 100% walking around the artist alley floor while I freak out about my panel. Nothing crazy going on yet, but there's so many people.
I'm the crazy one going around here.
Yeah, it's Franco. He's the problem. He's always a problem. I'm not even surprised. Anyway.
Yeah, you're not.
All right, and the door is closing. I'm assuming that's the last of y'all coming in. How are you guys? Are y'all enjoying staying in Japan so far?
Yes.
Nice, good stuff. This is my favorite convention. Now, granted, it's the only convention I've ever been to that's more than a day long, but you know, still my favorite by far. So y'all are here today because you want to learn how to be streamers in some capacity or another. Before we begin, I've got kind of a disclaimer for y'all because my panel is more tailored towards being a hobbyist sort of thing, right? It's not a one-size-fits-all panel. It's not about how to make money streaming. It's about how to stream, how to enjoy yourself, how to have fun, maybe how to learn and grow, you know, get new viewers, that sort of thing. But it's a whole lot of, there's a lot of information here. Almost none of it's going to be about making money or being like ninja successful, right? My hair might be blue. I don't stream to thousands of people every day, right? So even if I wanted to tell y'all, y'all probably wouldn't believe me. I also wanted to let y'all know that there's a lot I want to go into that I could not fit into the panel as far as the runtime, but I will be leaving time at the end for questions, so if y'all have any questions, just like make a mental note, ask me at the end. I will be asking y'all to come up too if y'all want to come talk to me. If you don't want to ask out loud, that's cool too. If any of y'all need to leave and y'all want any of my socials, you can see that fine man there in the Jurassic Park shirt, and he's got some business cards of mine that y'all can go get my socials from. He's great, I promise. He's not scary at all. He might look it, but he's not. So, with that, I guess we will actually begin. So, for those of y'all who don't know me, which is going to be most of y'all, this is exactly like my raid message, and I already hate it. My name is Gunmetal Hime. I'm a San Antonio-based streamer, cosplayer, and otherwise general weeaboo. That is why I am here. That is part of why I got this panel. I have been streaming since June of 2020, which, in the grand scheme of things, is not a very long time. But for context, as you all have forgotten for how long COVID's been, that's almost 2 years at this point. More than 2 years. I don't even know how long it's been. It's been a long time. I've also been affiliated with Twitch since August of 2020, which is like their first on-site monetization bump, right? So you need to hit a minimum amount of stuff before they'll start letting people sub to you, give you bits. I've been that since 2 months into my streaming career. I average anywhere from 8 to 12 viewers per stream, so with the advice I've given you, y'all can probably hit at least that, if not maybe more, because that's part of the fun of this. Just because I can't hit a goal doing the stuff I've done doesn't mean other people haven't done way more with the exact same advice. Which also puts me with the 8 to 12 viewers in the top 2% of Twitch streamers. Now granted, when you number that out, that's only about 200,000 streamers, which is a lot less impressive when you think, oh, I'm one of 200,000 and not the top 2%, right? That's okay though. This is mainly a hobby for me, and I know I said I wouldn't talk about monetization, but I do make payouts almost every month, which for us in the US is a minimum of $100 earned, but in some other countries they're going to start rolling out to be $50 soon, so that could be even more accessible. So what is streaming? At its core, streaming is sharing your favorite video games with people all over the world via the internet, but honestly it can be a lot more. When Justin TV initially was launched, which is what Twitch used to be, it was video games only. They used to be able to ban you if you weren't playing a video game on the platform because it was 100% a video game live streaming website. But now using Twitch, people do things like cook, play tabletop board games, do figure painting, do just chatting, live vlogs. People around here have been streaming too. You'll see a lot of like IRL streaming, music streaming, people making video games, people making their cosplays or wearing cosplay while they're streaming. But the most important part of Twitch is its community, which if any of y'all who are, does anybody here already use Twitch? Okay, so then you guys already know there's a very intense culture on Twitch. We've got a very refined culture. Lots of pepes, lots of laughs, lots of emotes that people might not always understand, which is going to be one of my first pieces of advice. If you're going to be streaming on Twitch, I highly suggest learning the culture of Twitch before you do so and deciding if it's a website for you, because it might not be. You might also get mixed signals from people because they, well, why is that dude looking snug at me? I don't know what that means. That's just Kappa. It means that they're messing with you. You need to learn that sort of thing first because it can cause a lot of miscommunications. I had that issue when I first started. Go figure. But Twitch has a very, very tight-knit community. There's lots of charity work that people do on the platform. There's lots of people who, you know, it's just all around a really good platform, in my opinion. There's some bad eggs. There's bad eggs on every platform, which is part of why this presentation I forgot to tell y'all. It's Twitch-centric, but a lot of what I'll tell y'all will work on other platforms too, right? So it's a very general sort of growth phase thing, right? So now I'm here doing a panel on streaming. So I've got some advice for y'all. That advice is going to be on big, bold ones. So if you wanted to ask my first piece of advice on streaming, don't do it. Don't do it. I mean it, honey, don't do it. It is expensive, it is time consuming, it is a lot of fruitless work. But, considering that none of y'all got up and left right now, I assume that y'all still want to do it, right? So, following that up, how do you start? I can't click. Just do it. Just start streaming. All you need to do to be a streamer is to just start streaming. And I know that people will be like, well, what about my overlays? What about my alerts? What about all my social media? No, all you need to do is hit start streaming. You just need to figure out how to capture a game and stream it. You can do it through a console, you can do it through a computer, but bare minimum, that's all you need. Now granted, as you continue to grow and learn more things about the platform and how streaming works in general, you will start to want to grow more and do more and start messing with things like overlays, making your own graphics, stuff like that. If you can make your own graphics, you're a lot more talented than me, I will tell you right now. That's not for me. I can't do that. Unfortunately, I'm not artistic. But you also need to start streaming for the right reasons. I forgot what was on that slide. Full disclosure. I say this for the same reason I told you at the beginning of the slide, or the beginning of the presentation. I don't want to talk about monetization because a lot of people will start streaming and think, oh, I'm going to get so rich. I'm going to be able to, have thousands of dollars and work from home and just play video games all day and do something I enjoy. And while that's the case for some people, like a 0.01% of streamers on Twitch, YouTube, content creators in general, that's not going to be the way it is for everybody, especially not if you go into it for the wrong reasons, because people can tell. You might not believe me when I say that, but people can absolutely tell when you're only doing something for money. And this is 100% one of those things. Now, I want to talk about what some of the good reasons and bad reasons are to start streaming. Some good reasons to start streaming. Have fun. Hang out with your friends to build and engage with a community, which is a very important part. Like I said earlier, Twitch as by itself is a community, but every single streamer you see that has some kind of following has a community. They have a very ingrained sense of like memes and jokes and all sorts of things, and they've all met together through that streamer, and that streamer is like their glue. If you want to be a streamer, you need to be prepared to be that glue for a community. Now granted, that's only up to a certain point, which is where the parasocial stuff starts, oozing in a little bit, but at that point, the community almost is self-circulating, almost like a tank that has too many plants in it for fish, right? Some bad reasons include, I can make so much money, I'll be famous, it's such a glamorous, easy job, and those things are not they're not true. You can even see streamers who average thousands of viewers or live 8 to 12 hours a day, every day, and it's not a glamorous job. They're there, hunched over their computers, sweating, trying to, get the coolest hits off in COD or whatever. I don't play first-person shooter games, but that's okay. So it's very important that that's something that y'all keep in mind, because if you do want to start streaming, even as a hobby, it is extremely time-intensive. Because I stream on average 2 to 3 days a week, and that's still a minimum. I only stream 2 or 3 hours at a time, 2 to 3 days a week. That still ends up costing me at least 24 to 40 hours of work on top of my day job every week. And that's from editing videos, social media, networking, that sort of thing. But we'll talk about that later. That's a slide for later on. So how do you guys keep your intentions in streaming a little more manageable? Learn how to set good goals. That is going to be my first big piece of actual advice, other than the don't. So there's two kinds of goals in general. Actionable and reliant. Actionable goals I identify as based on content output, personal growth, etc. Anything you can do entirely via your own work. There's nothing wrong with reliant goals, which are based on followers, viewers, money, etc. It's like sub counts that you see on people's streams, follower, stuff that people see. Anything that you can't do entirely via your own work is considered a reliant goal. Now, these are words I came up with. I think there's an actual term for both of these things. I don't know it. Half this PowerPoint is straight out of my own head. So, for actionable goals, what I would consider offering to y'all is like a good, kind of baseline thing. If y'all feel like it, pull out your phones, start typing on your phone. Pick 2 or 3 creators who you really enjoy and you want to emulate, right? When I first started streaming, I'm like, oh, I would really love to, be able to do good things in the world like Markiplier does. Oh man, I really love how funny Ludwig's streams are. He does a really good job, and then he moved to YouTube. How dare he? And I forget who the third person was, but that probably doesn't matter anyway. So if you find people who you want to emulate, you can look at their content and go, wow, I really like that. Wow, I really like that. And you can start expanding on that for your own brand, right? Which is another thing we'll talk about later. This panel's got a lot of information. So, I apologize, good Lord, I'm gonna swallow my own spit. Okay, so as far as actionable goals, those are things you can do yourself, like we said. Okay, better. I apologize, y'all. For actionable goals, you want to do things that you can do yourself. So, like, say, I want to make sure I can post this many videos in the next week. I want to be able to edit this many videos, you know, by this time next week. Those are all things that you can do by yourself. If you set yourself up for success, you don't want to overdo your goal, right? I want to edit 500 videos by this time next week. That's ridiculous. Don't do that. But if you can get, like, I want to just make sure I can reliably post videos once a week for, like, the next month, and I feel really good about myself, that's a good reliant goal to have, because not only will that help you meet that actionable goal, but maybe you have a reliant goal of, like, I want to get 100 views on a video, I want 50 new followers here on this social media. If you put in the work in an actionable goal, the reliant goals will follow suit. Is basically how it works. And it's okay to have goals that are reliant on other people. For example, my reliant goal was to have 500 subs on YouTube and 500 followers on Twitch before this panel, and I got it, but that was not at all entirely through my own work. Now, granted, I did a lot of work, right? But only so much of the reliant goal can be based entirely on your own work. But you're not going to get any of those reliant goals without putting in your own work. So it's kind of like a reciprocal thing. Just be really careful focusing too much on reliant goals, because it can really hurt your mental health. It's like, I don't see why people aren't following me. Why aren't people watching my streams? People can get really upset about that sort of thing. So just be careful with that. As far as Twitch etiquette, we'll start off with some of this. Don't self-promo on other channels' chats without permission. And I know I say that, and I know that y'all are thinking, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Why would anybody do that? I don't know either. Trust me, I don't know. People do it anyway. In general, this is just considered bad etiquette, because if a streamer wants for you to shout yourself out in their chat, they'll either have a command to do it for them, and they'll do it for you, or what they'll do is, you know, say, yeah, go on ahead, shout yourself out. I like you. Do, you know, tell us about yourself. You don't want to just go full barrel roll streaming or to somebody's stream when you've never been there before. They don't know who you are. They don't know what your content's like, and start posting your links. That's a great way to get banned and blocked by the creator, right? Especially on smaller levels. You also don't want to call out lurkers. This is more for your own chat than other people's chats, right? But if you call out lurkers, that person who may have been sitting there your whole stream, you're sitting there like 2 viewers, and you're like, let me see who's in the chat list. Don't do that. People who want to be known will be known on Twitch. It's very common that people will do what's called lurking, which is just sitting there watching your stream, having up in the background. It's very common. You don't want to call those people out, because they will leave. You will very quickly see that 2 go down to a 1, and they will never return to your stream. I can basically promise you that. Another thing you don't want to do, which kind of ties into the first point, is don't ask to be rated, hosted, followed, or to be gifted a sub to anyone's channel, or ask to have someone gift you subs. Don't do that. My only exception to this is the Prime sub thing, and it's only because it's funny, okay? If you ask somebody for a Prime sub, that's funny. Asking somebody to give you $5 a month because they're here watching your stream and they should, you know, have a job is not funny. Don't do that. Another thing you shouldn't do, don't complain about ads. 9 times out of 10, the creator does not have control over the ads and how they, you know, they're playing on their stream. The only exception to this is mid-roll ads most of the time. The only time I will run mid-roll ads is if I'm about to not be on my computer for like the next 2 to 3 minutes. Like, I need to go grab a snack, I need to go use the restroom, I need some more water. I'll run an ad. Just the people who come in for like the next 20, 30 minutes don't have a pre-roll ad. But if you come into a stream and there's like 6 ads immediately, those are just pre-roll ads. We can't do anything about them. Trust me, we try. We hate ads. We hate ads even more than you do sometimes, all right? So that's also something to keep in mind as a creator. People don't like watching ads. So if you can at all help it, don't automatically run ads, because there's a new thing that Twitch has. I say it's new. It's probably like a year old at this point. Go figure. But you can automatically run ads at intervals during your stream. They've started trying to really push it by increasing your ad revenue for it. I really suggest not turning it on. It's not going to help. It's not going to make you all that much money. I promise it's not going to be really worth it, right? Another thing you shouldn't do as a viewer is backseat or lordom. Y'all, nobody likes a backseat driver. Nobody likes a backseat gamer. Nobody likes spoiler owls. Gosh dang it, spoiler owl. Just don't do that, right? And another thing you should not do is argue about the rules of the channel. That is an amazing way to get banned and, you know, not let back in, no matter what you try to do for the creator or whatever have you. Even if they have unbanned forms, they might as well just ignore it, because Well, you didn't respect my rules the first time, and you tried to argue with me about it. Why am I going to let you back in? Clearly, y'all have made it very obvious that you don't want to be here. Another thing that is very important about that, too, is if you don't respect other people's rules, why would they respect yours? It's that simple. Very simple thing. Some things you should do, though, as a viewer and a streamer, get genuinely involved with other streamers' communities. One of the best ways I have found to gain new viewers and new friends on top of that is to get genuinely involved with other streamers. Some of my best friends I have met through bigger streamers, and then we became friends on like that lower level. I highly suggest it. Plus, it also helps a lot because, like, if you're not genuine in your connections with people on this platform, just like with the money thing, if you're not genuine, people know. People are not stupid. It might be through a screen, but it's extremely transparent when all you want is somebody with, 1,000 viewers to rate you, right? That's simple. Another thing you should do, enforce your rules. This ties directly back into the argument about the rules of a channel. Just enforce your rules. I don't care if, they're your husband, they're your best friend for the last 20 years. Even if it's them, enforce your rules on them. Because if you let somebody slip through, everybody else will follow right through that crap. Very simply, it's not good. Trust me. When I first started streaming, I was very lenient with people who I knew because I thought that I trusted them. And those are the exact same people who I ended up having to ban and remove from my community, like, a year and a half ago because it was causing me a lot of problems. But once they were gone, everybody fell step in line. Very simple. Now, I will say that can get kind of iffy, but never feel bad for enforcing your rules. Your rules, are your comfort zone, are what you need to be doing, right? So don't let anybody make you feel bad for your rules. Very simple. Another thing I will suggest, and this is very manager speak, which is actually very funny, resolve issues with other creators privately, with very few exceptions, but praise them publicly. If you're having an issue with somebody and you don't talk to them, how are they going to know? And I only bring this up because I've seen this happen multiple times with people who I consider my friends, or they've got some kind of like bubbling resentment and they don't talk to their creator and then like explodes one day. And it causes a whole bunch of drama that I then have to like watch and be like, oh guys, why'd y'all do that? It's not good. It just helps keep y'all's nose clean, as well as, I think that people can really appreciate when you can go to them and tell them that you're having an issue with them, right? Because it's a thing of common decency, I think, to be able to talk to somebody when you're having an issue with them. But something you should do, which will also give you positive rapport with other people, is praise them publicly. So if you see somebody's doing something that you really like, tweet about them. You're like, hey, I saw @blank was doing something really cool and I really liked that smiley face. And of course, tell them privately too. But, depending on who it is to you, you might also tweet about them and also tell them, privately. Just because it'll also bring attention to that cool thing that they're doing, and this maybe somebody else will get an idea, like, oh man, maybe I should do that too, that'd be really cool. That sort of thing. And finally, remember that your biggest competition will always be yourself. It's not Ninja, it's not Ludwig, it's not Ms. Kiff, it's not Asmongold, it's not that 100-viewer streamer who started at 0 after you started. It's you. Any sort of negativity you have is entirely in your own head, right? Unless it's, drama-based, but that's fine. Don't worry about that. It's cool. Continuing on, things you might want to know. Don't be afraid to ban people who make you uncomfortable, break your rules, etc. You're the streamer and you always have the final say. Your community is a reflection of you, even if you're not responsible for them as a whole, which is kind of a thing, right? You guys always see like bigger creators, like massive creators, and you're like, man, their community is really toxic, man, their community is really nice. Direct reflection of you and the content that you make and the things that you encourage in the community, right? They are not you, but they are a reflection of you. Your setup can be important, but your content is even more so. Spending hundreds on equipment won't save your stream when you don't even talk over your game. And I mean that. You can stream all day, every day, and I'm saying this with like the utmost respect for everybody who can stream. I know that not everybody's comfortable having a microphone. I know not everybody's comfortable having a camera. But if you're sitting there with, a really expensive DSLR mirrorless camera, with, a $2,000 computer, a $200 capture card, excuse me, and you're streaming Fortnite, and you're not talking, and people can see you hunched over, your brow's all furrowed, you're not even saying you're doing anything, your expensive equipment is not going to help you. Very simply. And it's not easy, nor is it easy money. If you get into content creation for the money and only for the money, you will be disappointed. I have seen people quit because they thought that they were going to get rich off of streaming. And did they? No. Of course they didn't, because if they did, they wouldn't be in the same Discord server as I was, right? That's generally how that works. And don't try to attract everyone or as many people as possible to your community. I know that sounds extremely advantageous. I want for my community to be for everybody. I want, everybody to just get along and everybody will be fun. you need to have your community follow your morals. No matter what those morals are, your community needs to reflect your morals. Because otherwise, people will not stick around. People who agree with you will become uncomfortable with people who don't agree with you. I'm being ambiguous. My hair color, I think, should speak for itself. Let's go for that. Just try and make sure that your community is a reflection of you, but in a way that brings people who you want to watch you to you, right? You just need to be very cautious of that, but also aware of it. If you try to make a community for everybody, it's not going to be for no one, essentially. Find your thing. This is my next big piece of advice. Find something that you do that nobody else does. You crossplay, you do drag, you play music. Every time somebody raises you, you go and do 20 push-ups and a cartwheel in a different camera in your living room. Something like that. You need to have something that makes you special. Unfortunately, on Twitch right now, as it is, as a platform, it's extremely oversaturated. Everybody and their mother streams on Twitch now, which is part of why, companies like YouTube and Facebook and stuff have also started opening up, streaming divisions, I guess is the word for it. They also have streaming services, streaming platform services. I think it's a service. Twitch is a service, by the way. Fun fact, it's noted in their terms of service. But you need to find something that makes you different. If you're not different, why should anybody watch you? Now, you could also just be really good at the game that you're playing. Maybe you're just a really good representative for your community and people want to watch that. Maybe you're just really, really funny, really cool, what have you. You need to find something that's yours. So for qualities of a good streamer, I put good in quotation marks because some people like gimmicky streamers that are none of these things, and that's totally cool. But in general, you want to have a positive engagement with your chat. You want to be yourself, but set solid boundaries. This is that enforcing rules thing we talked about earlier. In general, too, it's just a really good idea to not allow parasocial relationships to fester, right? Because I'm a smaller streamer. There's more people in this room than I stream to on a nightly basis. And I still have people trying to get into my DMs acting like we're friends, even though I've never spoken to them except for through my chat in my life, right? Set boundaries. You need to have a persona and stage presence that is still you enough to be genuine, right? When you're streaming, you want to turn yourself up to you don't want to go all the way up to 15, but maybe 11 is fine if you're normally like a 10. You just need to tune it up a little bit. And I'm not saying be fake, but absolutely find a version of yourself that you can kind of separate from yourself at the end of the day, right? This is my streaming self, this is my streaming personality, this is the sort of thing I do on stream, so that way you're not extra exhausted when you're trying to, do stream stuff as just yourself. Do you have a question back there?
Yeah, just checking to see if something would make sense. Is it fair to say, of the saturation of your personality or something?
Yes, the saturation of your personality. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That would absolutely be what it is. Again, remembering that your community is a reflection of you, very clear. And then playing games that you actually enjoy instead of what gets you viewers. For example, recently, I was playing Ocarina of Time, and I love Zelda games, but Ocarina of Time was making me miserable for some reason, and I think it's because one of my mods was backseating me the whole time. The best part too is I figured out the water temple without him, so I don't know what he was doing. Point being, I was miserable, and I was getting viewers, but I was not enjoying myself, so I had to stop playing. I'm like, I'll come back to this later, I might even start it over. I can't do this anymore. And everybody's like, yeah, do that. Play something that makes you have fun. And I started playing Power Washer Simulator. I've been having a lot more fun. Great time. So people can tell. And if you're having fun, your audience will have fun. If you're miserable, your audience is going to leave. That sort of thing, right? Know what to spend your money on. I've got a whole slide about this after this. When I said streaming is expensive, I mean it. That camera back there I'm recording on, I don't even know how much it is because I didn't buy it, but it was a lot. This laptop was $1,000. I record with my phone, and my phone was almost $800 because I've got a Galaxy S21, but we can talk about that later. My computer, including the graphics card, is probably $1,500. And granted, I paid for most of this out of my own pocket. As far as money goes, I'm in the red. I have not made back enough money on Twitch to pay for what I've gotten. But, that's one of those things. As far as that goes, there are only certain things that you need. I would highly suggest that you guys forego things like stream decks, expensive capture cards unless you need them. That's a different story. Any sort of, overpowered computer that you probably don't need like I have. That's not good. And just be careful with your money because it's extremely expensive. It's worse than cosplay in some ways, and I know that because I do both. As far as hardware, what I would consider necessary as far as, other than a console or computer or mobile phone that you can stream from. Those three things are also necessary, but I think they're kind of a given. As far as hardware goes, I would consider microphones, cameras, and capture cards to be the only things that you need, and even then you only need a microphone and camera. You don't really need either of them either. I would highly suggest having a microphone, bare minimum, because if people can't hear you, they're not going to hang out. It's one of those things that they can't hear you or see what you're doing or know what's going on. Now granted, there's some case uses for this, like say you're nonverbal or what have you. You don't necessarily need to have a microphone, you can just have a camera up. If you're uncomfortable with that, that's fine too. Some people also just type in chat. As long as you're interacting with your community, that's what really matters, right? You don't have to have a microphone, but bare minimum, if you're going to buy anything, buy a microphone. I currently use a Razer Sire Mini for my setup, right? So nothing as fancy as one of these right here. It was $40, it's a USB microphone, it's plug and play. You plug it straight in your computer and you can talk into it, and then you're done, you're set. I also heavily suggest a camera. I don't think you need one. How many of y'all were in here for the last panel, the VTuber one? Hands raised, perfect. A VTuber model is a perfect replacement for something like a camera. Now you're probably going to want a camera anyway so that you can still use VC Face or what have you to track your facial motions and you talking to move your model around, but you don't need a camera. You don't need to show your face on stream. All you really need is for people to hear you. Personally, I would recommend a Logitech C920, which if any of y'all were doing at-home school on Zoom or what have you, you probably already have one. But it doesn't need to be a good webcam. It can be like the worst 1080p 30 webcam that you can find. As long as you have good lighting, it'll be fine. The box is about that big on the screen, no one's going to notice how bad it looks. Personally, I use my phone. I use a plugin called DroidCam, and I've got a Galaxy S21 that I use mainly for my stuff. Camera, right. So I use my phone camera as my webcam currently. Actually, when I get back, I'm going to be setting up that camera right there to be my webcam, which you can do using a cam link or a capture card or what have you. I'd say what have you. Can y'all tell I'm nervous? Is that obvious? Yeah? Cool, great. Glad we're on the same page. But yeah, no, so you can do a lot of things for a camera. You can pay, $50 to $70 for a C920. You could just use the phone you have in your pocket and pay $7 for the app for the plug-in to just use your phone. For Android, not Android, for Apple users as well, y'all have something called APOC Cam. I think it's like 20 bucks, but Elgato makes it. And they also make capture cards, which are only necessary if you're trying to stream a console game to your computer to Twitch. In general, if you have a console, you can stream straight from your console to Twitch. It's not going to matter too much. It's fine, right? Very simple. But a thing to keep in mind is that eventually you're going to want a quality upgrade, probably, which is why I don't think it's necessary. I don't think a capture card is necessary at all, right? But if you want a quality upgrade, you're like, I'm really tired of streaming straight from my Xbox using my Kinect for my 360 as my webcam. You can get the capture card. Personally, I use a $50 white label one. It's one of those ones that they mass manufacture and then a whole bunch of other brands pick up and sell as their own, which works perfectly fine because I don't ever play anything crazy. Like if I'm streaming from a console, I'm streaming from my Switch. It's very simple. But as far as capture, I clicked it. It's fine. We'll continue on. Capture cards are not necessary unless you're trying to stream from a console. For VTubing, I got to cut down my panel, so thank God for the last people because I didn't have to do a whole VTubing section. I could just do this. VTubing is a good, if not perfect, solution for not just weeaboos who want to look like a cute anime girl, but also anybody who doesn't necessarily want their face shown. And I was talking earlier about personas and like the saturation of your personality. Thank you for that word, by the way. This is an entirely different thing. If you're a VTuber, you're playing a character. You can see here on the left, that is my VTuber avatar. I never use her, but she's kind of like a character on my channel. Her name's Mai. So anytime something goes wrong with my computer, it's her fault. If something's going wrong, it's all her. Blame it on Mai, because she's supposed to be a computer virus. She's yawned array for me or something. I'm not worried about it. She's not a problem. It's cool. But you can use a studio like VRoid Studio in particular, to make a 3D VTuber model for free, which is where I made her. And you can use VC Face, which you'll see here on the right, to capture your facial movements via the camera earlier, like we talked about. Great option for anybody who wants to make content but doesn't feel comfortable putting their face out there. Right? Super duper simple as far as that all goes. So another thing to keep in mind, you're going to be learning new things constantly. This is not an easy hobby, which is part of why we're having this panel, right? Yeah. So one of the big things that I found, I have ADHD. I pick up hobbies really intensely for like a month, and then I drop them. So the fact I've been doing this for 2.5 years kind of speaks to the engagement level of it, right? There's never not something for you to learn, no matter what it is. So we're going to take this and immediately segue into OBS. OBS is a pain, and I love them, and I love everything that they have done because they have been like the #1 thing for the last decade as far as broadcasting softwares go. Unfortunately, it's got a really strong learning curve, and it kind of always has. It's extremely intimidating to people who don't necessarily know a whole lot about what's a bit rate? I don't even know what a Q frame is. What is this? What's going on? So I've done my best on the next slide, the next couple of slides anyway, to give y'all a good roundabout idea of how things are going to go. Very simple. As far as the pros for OBS, which is, it's the only one I'll suggest. I only suggest using OBS. I'm kind of a purist, but it's okay. It's free, it's flexible and customizable. There are a lot of plugins you can use. One of my favorite ones, like I said with DroidCam, is probably my favorite one, but there's also a closed caption one if you want to make your stream more accessible to people. Closed captions. There's a built-in one that will pull it straight from your microphone. Really great, really easy. It's got support for most operating systems. I'm not sure about Linux. I don't know if any of y'all are nerds like that and know anything about Linux, but I sure don't. I also don't know anything about Mac. I've only ever had a Windows computer in my life. But it's got a strong learning curve. There's no integrated overlay elements like with Streamlabs. Streamlabs has those, go figure, but they're also not, they're not the best company. I'm sorry. What other options that you have if you don't want to use OBS? Stream Elements Live, which is what I use, which is OBS with Stream Elements as plugin. All it does is allow me to control, because I use Stream Elements for my alerts, my overlays, my tipping stuff. All my stuff goes through Stream Elements, so it just makes sense for me to have the Stream Elements plugin for my OBS. But it doesn't do anything except for add like an extra couple of docs, right? You can use Streamlabs OBS. I wouldn't recommend it, but if that's what you want to do it. I'm not your mother. I'm not going to tell y'all anything. Like, I don't... Yes?
One thing that I've noticed recently that kind of works with your point, I think in the past year or two, OBS has had an update that makes it like a lot more approachable in a similar way to Slobs without even having to get it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And there was also an update, like literally that's coming out this week, I think that's OBS 28, which will make it a lot more accessible. There's a lot more plug-in stuff, WebSocket availability and things like that. So OBS is getting better. It's still definitely open source, but it's getting better. There's also Twitch Studio, which I would recommend over Streamlabs if you want something easy. Twitch Studio is just Twitch's proprietary streaming software. It's nothing special, but it does come with like built-in overlays and stuff like that. So they're not great, but they're there. There's also XSplit, which I don't know why you'd use XSplit either, because I think you have to pay for it to be of any use to you. I think that there's paid options now, but nothing crazy. And then Lightstream, which I will suggest in lieu of a capture card, depending on your internet speed, because that's very important. If you have a good upload speed, I would suggest probably having 20 megabits upload minimum, right, for Lightstream, just because what you're doing is you're taking the feed from your console that you're streaming on and porting it to OBS, which is then porting it to Twitch. So that's 2 upload sections that you need to go through for your internet connection, right? But it's really good if you don't want to pay for a capture card, or if you're not sure if you want to be streaming from your console for the rest of whatever. You do have to pay for it. It's a subscription, but it's cheap. I think it's like $20 a month or something like that for you to try out. I clicked it early again, but this is OBS. This is kind of what scares people. You look at this and you go, this is really empty. What do all these buttons do? I see start streaming and start recording, but how do I even do anything? So just for a quick rundown, you'll see scenes, and scenes are like the collection of overlay stuff here. So if you have a scene, let's just go with this scene right here. It's empty. And sources would be the things that go into it. So it'd be like your audio sources, your overlay sources, anything that you want to actually stream, you put in the sources section, right? The audio mixer, you change how loud sounds are. Very, very simple, nothing crazy. But the problem is when you get into the actual export settings, right? Because we always love that. So this is what I recommend if you've never streamed before. I would recommend that you never stream at higher than 720p 60, and even then no higher than 720p 30. And I know that that sounds bad, especially for a lot of you. I don't know how many of y'all would end up streaming first-person shooters or fast-paced games like that, but sometimes having a more constricted bitrate can make the video look funky, which is why I made sure to emphasize at the beginning, not everything I say is going to work for you. Maybe you want to do a higher bitrate at a lower quality, something like that. But in general, if you don't know what your settings are, and unfortunately it's extremely, it's hard to tell without knowing somebody's like, what's your graphics card, what's your CPU, who's your internet service provider, what position in the sky is the moon today, that sort of thing. I can't tell you exactly how to set up your OBS, but this is Twitch's specific, this source up here, is Twitch's specific recommendations for what you should stream at on their platform. In general, they will never let you stream with more than 6,000 kilobits per second, which is 6 megabits up. Yes. Is there a question back there? Someone stretching? No, okay, sorry. What was I saying? That's right, okay. You won't get any higher than 6 megabits per second up. It's just, they won't let you do it. Well, they will let you do it, that's a lie. They will let you do it. People just won't be able to view your stream. It will stutter and chop and look worse than if you were streaming on like 2,000, depending, because it will just overload their encoder. But in general, if you want to stream it higher, YouTube I think allows up to 15,000. I could be wrong, I'm probably wrong, I don't know anything about streaming on YouTube. I just know like the basis of content creation in general and then Twitch. But 720p 60, 720p 30 will usually service you just fine unless you're trying to do something more intensive. And if you are, you'll just want to tweak it as per. What I recommend personally is having an internet upload speed of 5 megabits per second. Which is an important distinction. You can have 400 download and be able to watch 1080p 60 streams in like perfect clarity, perfect quality, and not be able to stream because you have like 2 up. Personally, I believe our internet connection is like 500 down and then 20 up, which in general ends up being just fine because 20 is there a question back there? Yes. Hand raised? Yes. For shooters, I would still recommend 720/30, but with 6,000 bit rate instead of the 2,500 it lists here. Or, yeah, 3,000. It says 4,500, not 2,500, 4,500. So I would do the full 6,000. It's just the upload speed, mainly. It's how fast the stuff is being transported through. You could also, in theory, still do the 1080p 60, but the lower your resolution is, the better quality the video will actually be on the other end. If that makes any sense at all. I know it's really confusing and weird, but that's how that works. I also suggest if you're going to be streaming from a computer to have an NVIDIA GPU. CPU is just as capable. In fact, CPUs can sometimes encode better than GPUs depending on what you have, especially if you have an AMD card. I'm sorry, the encoder for OBS is horrible. That's not the card's fault. The card does just fine on games. It just doesn't work well for streaming. NVIDIA, however, has NVENC. Up here you can see the NVENC specs. That is NVIDIA's encoder for streaming and stuff like that. So if you have like a 1660, if you have a 2070, if you somehow have a 3090, first off, I'm jealous. Second off, that's perfect. You can just switch it on to NVENC and it'll help keep the encoding, load down. You can also use CPU, like I said, it can be pretty. It might end up looking better if you use your CPU to encode. It'll just make your computer really hot. It'll put a lot more strain on it than maybe you want it to have. And it's not good, so just don't do it. All right? And finally, just have some patience. Because OBS takes a second to learn. Now, we're going to go into the do as I say, not as I do segment, and I'm going to show you guys my settings. This is what I stream with. I stream at 864p, 60 frames per second, 6300 bit rate because my internet is really annoying and it likes to flip-flop. If I leave it at 6300, it stays at about 6,000 solid. So it works out at the end. CBR, this rate control here, is constant bit rate. You want to leave it on CBR no matter what. This is for the NVENC encoder and it's set to advanced because I needed to get to the rest of these settings. Do not use the NVIDIA rescale output, just for the record, don't do that, it will bork your stuff. I don't know why it does that, NVENC is great otherwise, maybe it's just my computer, but yeah, just for that. So I've got my presets set for quality. This is another thing that y'all should not do, and I don't know why I left it like that. Profile should never be set to high, leave it on main, it will cause stuttering if you put it on high. I don't know why it says that, I must have messed up. I do leave on psychovisual tuning just because it does help, clear up frames in between because this B frame thing here, those are solid frames and everything else is movement-wise, right? Movement-wise, that's not even a word. In general, when you're streaming, frames will be more fluid, but then you have solid frames in between those to stamp them. Very simple. And then you'll want to leave, if you're playing a game, you'll want to leave the downscale filter on bicubic because bicubic is better. If you're doing just like your face, length exhaust is fine as well because length exhaust is more sharp and can better capture the quality of like your camera. But in general, bicubic is just fine. Continuing on, this is what my stuff looks like. It is a hot mess, just like me and just like I'm about to leave the panel room in. I've got a starting soon screen, I have a game screen, I've got a just chatting screen, a BRB screen, a recording screen, and that tier maker screen down there I still haven't deleted. I'm pretty sure it's actually still in my OBS at home, and I made this PowerPoint like a month ago. It's a problem. But you'll see here, there's a lot of customizability that you can add in. Off to the right, I've got like my chat, especially compared to the one I showed y'all earlier. I've got my chat, I've got the 4x3, I'm pretty sure I was using to play Ocarina of Time. My camera frame, the little padding for, I believe alerts go up top and chats down at the bottom. All sorts of stuff. You'll see I've got like my droid cam stuff for the sources, and I've got some of them color-coded. Some of them, go figure, not all of them. And you'll also notice that a lot of what I have going on here on the screen is the same color. It's about the same, you know, about the same color, not quite. I think the text is a slightly greener green on this screen, and I don't know why, but that's fine, we'll deal with it. That is what I will talk to y'all. Next, branding. Branding is what we're going on to. I'm sorry, that was loud, I apologize. Branding is how you present your channel and yourself to the world, which is very important when you are trying to make yourself distinct from other people. Like I said earlier, your persona is very important, but so is your branding, which is not just how your channel looks, it's also how you present yourself to the world, like I'm an awkward mess. Yeah. So it includes things like panels, overlays, logos, merch, emotes, and also what you might consider the mission you intend to complete by creating content. Do you want to be the best Fortnite streamer in North America? Do you want to just run charity streams every week and raise a lot of money for charity? Do you want to start creating conventions and start, you know, doing like local conventions and stuff like that? Whatever you want to do with your channel, whatever you consider your channel's mission is also part of your branding, which is important to remember because it's also a reflection of you in the same way your community is. Yay. You can find pre-made graphics for overlays or alerts on websites like Etsy or Own3D. Personally, I made mine, even though I'm not very graphically talented. The two emotes here on the top and the bottom of the left of the pictures, I did not draw those, but everything else here I did except for those two and then the thing. The hex codes at the bottom. I've had that same hex code layout for like the last two and a half years at this point. I've always used the same colors. I'm basic. Alright, very basic. It's okay though. But you can also get them commissioned, like I had my emotes commissioned, and make them yourself if you're more talented than I am, which I wouldn't consider this talented. This is edited text. That's all it is. It's nothing special. Continuing on, for the first step of helping y'all learn to grow your stream, your community, your socials, things like that, because it's all intertwined, and it's kind of annoying how intertwined it is. Like personally, I don't like Twitter very much, but I still have to use it. It's just part of getting to meet everybody that you can in your niche, specifically in your niche. You want to make friends with people, like I said earlier, genuinely. You want to make friends with other streamers, genuinely. You want to meet people who also enjoy the same things that you do. Otherwise, you're not going to do a whole lot. Genuineness is a very important thing, and if people aren't in your niche, your communities are not going to be able to cross-pollinate, which is very important as far as your growth goes. And just meet everybody that you can, but also don't keep everybody that you meet, if that makes any sense. If you don't click with somebody, you don't need to stay friends with them. But don't be fake and keep trying to support them just because they're bigger than you or growing faster than you or whatever. But meet everybody that you can. Very important. As for how to grow, and I think I've actually been talking too fast. My panel might almost be over.
That'll leave time for extra questions.
That's very true. It will leave time for extra questions. I don't mind answering questions either. I love answering questions. As for how to grow, have a schedule. Set days or set times help, but having both is even better. Just don't stream every day. What I personally suggest to people who haven't streamed before is stream 2 or 3 days a week, 2 or 3 hours at a time, just so that you have time to also work on networking and posting on other socials, editing videos, posting on TikTok. Things, if you want to post on TikTok anyway, we can talk about that later. But any sort of other work you want to add onto your stream, consider that stream time for the day if you aren't scheduled to stream that day. Just consider it part of your work. Like I said, some weeks I will be working 24 to 40 hours on top of like my regular job doing streaming stuff. Only about 8 to 16 of that is actually streaming. The rest of it's making content for other platforms or networking. Post on social media, but not about the fact that you're going live. I'm sure that y'all have seen it before, the classic case of the one viewer streamer who has been posting on social media, they're going live, hey, I'm going live on Twitch for like the last year, and they still have 1 viewer. It's because they aren't making personal connections with their viewers. They're not, actually meeting people. They're not actually, it's a very lazy way to try and farm engagement that they will not get. And just trust me, don't post going live links unless it's for an event. That's usually what I will do. I use my socials as like a semi-personal kind of thing because believe it or not, I'm not a very open person about my personal life, but I will talk about things every once in a while. But it makes you more personable. And I'll post going live links for like, if I'm doing like a birthday stream or I've got a celebration or we're doing a charity stream. Those are good going live links to post, hey, I'm doing this in a week. Hey, this is today, come and hang out. It just helps build personability and lets people know that you're not just about trying to get viewers, because sometimes it can come off like that, especially if you're more versed in the space, you can tell. Make content on other platforms, and I can kind of hear y'all right now, but I don't want to do anything else, and that's okay. You don't have to do anything else. What I will say is manage your expectations accordingly, right? If you're not willing to post videos on YouTube, if you don't want to make TikTok videos, if you don't want to post on Twitter or Instagram or anything like that, that's fine, you don't have to. Just don't expect for people to come in via those avenues. Don't expect to have a YouTube channel set up with no videos on it and have people go, oh, well, I see that, you have a whole YouTube thing, whatever, I came from your YouTube, when you don't have any content on it. That's just ridiculous. It's not going to happen that way. So to that effect, you can also use your existing socials to help grow your Twitch platform. Not pertinent. Pertinent's good. I'll go with pertinent. A pertinent example I can think of is Valkyrie, because she started off on Instagram. She didn't stream on Twitch until she had almost 100,000 followers on Instagram, and she pulled her Instagram following to Twitch, and then immediately moved to YouTube, not 6 months later, if I'm remembering the timeline correctly. And she now co-owns 100 Thieves. She has a whole bunch of other content stuff, but she did not start off just streaming. So if any of y'all have like cosplay socials, y'all write fan fiction, y'all post pictures of your GameStop job on Instagram like she did, y'all might be able to pull people from that and be like, hey, I'm going to start streaming on Twitch, whatever, and you might be able to get a nice influx of starting viewers from that. To that effect, don't be afraid to ask your friends to come watch you either. Don't badger them, but if they want to come watch you, they'll come hang out. That's part of how I hit affiliate so quickly, is I had my friends come and watch me because they wanted to help me out, and I really appreciate it. Another thing to do is to keep in touch with your community. If you are not in touch with your community, it's very easy for them to fall out of touch with you and what you're doing and what's going on, which is part of why it's so important to have a schedule. Personally, I don't have a set schedule. I've got a set time of day that I stream, right? But I don't have a set schedule, so it's important that I have my Discord server and my socials updated so that people know when I'm going to be going live that week. It just makes things a lot easier. It also helps you build a rapport with your community as well. So if you post memes, like here's pictures of my dog, I post pictures of my dog all the time. They love him. Archie is kind of the star of the show as far as everything goes. I have nothing to do with anything, it's all him. But it helps you build rapport with your community. It keeps you in touch with them as well. It doesn't have to be Discord. You could use what's that one? Gilded, I think, is one that some people use. You could even just not have a Discord server and just post on Twitter or Instagram, hey, I'm going live at this time this week, and just pin the post or whatever, and you'll be set. Very simple. Find a niche, which we talked about already, sort of, kind of, but finding a niche is really important. You need to find out what you're going to do. For example, personally, I am an JRPG streamer with story-based intentions, right? I really like games that have good story. That's my niche. But I can't make it too specific. Some of y'all may be able to get away with playing, like Destiny 2 raids for hours and hours and hours and hours. That could never be me. But if you can do that, that could be your niche. Valorant people, Fortnite people, anybody who can play one game and not be burnt out, can generally build a really good niche as long as they have strong content around it on other platforms. Part of the problem with first-person shooters is they're also super oversaturated. So you really need to rely on your social networking, your regular networking with other creators, and your content on other platforms. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to drive traffic to you when you're buried underneath thousands of other people. So just in general, very important. What I will also suggest is networking, but not follow for follow, support for support. I'm sure that some of y'all have seen that sort of thing. It's rather interesting, really. Not interesting is the wrong word. It's kind of gross. It's almost like a pyramid scheme. There's Discord servers out there where there'll be one person or one group of people who have made the Discord group, like, help small streamers grow, whatever. And they get 100 people join, but in order to be rated by the people up top, they have to follow and engage for a certain amount of time. And they actually do that. They will go and they will give these people up at the top hours and hours and hours and hours of views just to be potentially rated by them at the end of one of their streams. It's a huge pyramid scheme. Do not participate in that sort of thing. If anybody tries to get you to, do not walk, run. It is not just horrible for your growth, it's also horrible for your long-term retention. In general, there's this thing I go by, it's called the 1% rule. And it can work on most social medias, and it's not always the case either. Some things more like Twitter is more like a 10% rule, but on Instagram it's like a 1%. For every 100 followers you have, you'll get 1 like on your post, 1 like on your tweet, on average. That also kind of falls over to Twitch, where if you have 100 viewers, or 100 followers, you'll probably have 1 viewer minimum, right? So as far as my ratio goes, I'm doing well. I have 500 followers, but I average about 10, right? So I'm doing double that. But it's a whole thing, because you'll go out there and you'll see people who have, 1,000 followers and 1 viewer, and you'll kind of go, huh? Because that 1 viewer is probably them. If you're not already streaming with your stream up on your phone, you're missing out on a free viewer. You can have up to 2 viewers per IP address. I'm completely serious. It will bump you up again above everybody who will not open their phone. Just putting that little bit of effort helps out a lot, right? So don't follow for follow, because you can also only follow 2,000 people on Twitch as a platform, right? You can only follow 2,000 streamers. You would end up having to clear it out. You'd end up with a lot of hollow follows on your end as well. And just in general, it doesn't look good for the analytics, right? Not that we really care about that. This is a hobby stream, but it can look bad. It can drive people away. So, considering the fact that I talk too fast because I have anxiety, no, seriously, make content on other platforms. I mean it. It really helps out a lot. I'm not kidding when I say that most of my current viewers have come from not being on Twitch. They have come from me networking with other creators. They have come from me posting on YouTube Shorts, my Instagram, my Twitter, things like that. Seriously, if you can and you can make the time for it, if you can't, no shame. If you don't want to, no shame. Don't do it. You don't have to. Just manage your expectations accordingly. That's all I ask. But it's extremely important, especially because Twitch has no native discoverability. Sure, there's like that tag system that they have that's really broken right now because they made it freeform and now it doesn't help and it's not great. Sure, you can search for a specific game and specific category and things like that, but it's not very great. There's no way for people that they don't feed you like recommended the same way YouTube would. It doesn't work out. So, for who else y'all should check out, for people who actually know what they're talking about and actually are partner. I think everybody here is a partner on Twitch. Fun fact. I am not, but they are. We have Gale Level, who does tech reviews, channel branding, and OBS tutorials. He's one of those people I was talking about earlier who does pre-made overlays and stuff like that, and they are entirely free. You have to pay for some of them, but most of them are free. All you have to do is tweet about it, and he'll let you download it, and it's great. He's got a Gumroad. I really like him. He's really funny. Then we have, yes, the name is said exactly how you think it is, Zach Bussey. He's an industry and creator news creator, that's a sentence. He also debunks creator myths. I don't know if any of y'all are in the streamer sphere on Twitter, but if you are, how many times have y'all seen like please make sure that you leave, the player unmuted because otherwise you won't count as a viewer. That's not true. That's not how it works. You still count as a viewer. He debunks sorts of myths like that. And he lets people know what's going on. He's got contacts both within Twitch and outside of Twitch, people who go into the API of Twitch, and like all the stuff that goes on there. And if there's something that's going around that's not right, just follow him on Twitter. You'll know pretty quick if it's true or not. We have Epos Vox, who does the tech reviews and OBS Masterclass tutorial, just general stuff. It's like a 4-hour-long video / playlist. I think it's a playlist. But he will teach you everything you need to know about OBS, and then some. He's a very nice, fun creator. He also does like tech reviews. He likes cameras and like microphones a lot. So if you're really interested in like tech, microphones, stuff like that, check him out. He's great. Then we have Truly, who does tech help and growth tips. She's more on the growth side of the spectrum. She'll teach you more about how to, do things to make, your content better, how to keep people more engaged, and just in general, how to be a better streamer. Same thing with Stream Scheme and X2 Shoes. Stream Scheme is one streamer, he's LJM, but Stream Scheme is like a team of people who make content about making content. So it's focusing on small streamers and keeping and growing an audience, being more engaging, being more fun, ideas on sorts of things like that. And X2 Shoes also does the same thing, but he also recently started a series called Before You Stream, which is before you stream oversaturated games. So he's got like a before you stream Minecraft, before you stream, I think Apex Legends too. He started a new series, and I've been really enjoying watching it. It's a lot of fun. So if y'all wanted to take a picture of this screen, I'll leave this one up for y'all, and I believe that we are done after that. Yes, we sure are. So if anybody has any questions, I am happy to take questions. Yes, you in the back. Yes.
Would you recommend making separate social media for Twitch versus like your personal?
Yes, I would, not only for the sake of your content, but also for the sake of your personal safety also. I would not suggest using your personal social medias as a conduit for moving people over to your content. Just because people will also find that personal social media later, and people are weird. Any other questions? Yes, you.
Would you say that Twitch is still as jumpy as it was maybe a year ago when it came to legitimate bannings?
Legitimate bannings? How do you mean? That feels like a loaded question.
Unfair bannings, like just you're streaming, you haven't really done anything, but maybe someone jumped in your stream and such, and...
Well, the thing is that whether we like it or not, under Twitch's terms of service, we are unfortunately responsible for things other people do on our streams, right? So if somebody was, I think Asmongold is the most recent one I can think of where he had somebody in his in-game chat using a slur and he got banned for it. I wouldn't necessarily say it's unfair, but I think it might be indiscriminate more than anything else.
Like I got hit off for dangerous off-platform something. We have
yeah, that's a relatively new thing. So depending on what you were doing, it may or may not be valid. But I'm not gonna pry. Yeah, yeah. Yes.
What do you think about bots and automated robots for your stream?
Okay, so for my stream,
or Nightbot and
personally, I use Mix It Up bot, which is is it a newer one? It used to be a Mixer bot. I never streamed on Mixer, but Mix It Up used to be a Mixer bot. But it's the one I use. It's very customizable and things like that. I only recently started using it. I also use Stream Elements in conjunction with it because I didn't want to move all my alerts over. Nightbot's also perfectly serviceable. I think any of the currently existing bot options are perfectly serviceable depending on what you want to do. I use Mix It Up because I didn't want to also use Triggerfire to do channel points. Because I've got my bot will automatically set off channel point alert things stuff. So I use Mix It Up for that. But anything that you can find is generally a good option. Let's go with you first.
Hi, do you have recommendations for reaching out to other content creators?
What I would do personally, because I am an extremely socially awkward person, I'm not great at talking to people for the first time, I would go and hang out in their stream in general and just make yourself a known name, a known face with air quotes, if you will, and then be like, hey, can I talk to you about this later? Or depending on who it is, personally, I've got my DMs closed. I don't usually DM people. I will DM them first if I want to talk to them about something. But they'll usually be like, yeah, no, totally, DM me about that. I'll talk to you later about that sort of thing. And usually that's a very good way to get in. Otherwise, if you're going to cold DM, make sure it's not too committal, but it's also not too non-committal. I was just like, hey, I really enjoy your content. I really like this about you. I wanted to know if you wanted to talk more about this. I think would be a good starting message as far as that goes. Yes.
Just wondering, how do lurkers look like from the streamer's perspective? Can they see lurkers?
Only if they look really, really hard. You have to go out of your way, essentially, because I will actually go back a couple of slides. Let me go on ahead. Let me go, how do I get out here? End show, that's what I'm looking for. If we go here, you'll see here on my, can I make that bigger? Hang on, can I start from current slide? Hang on, I got this. Maybe. We're having a fun time, guys, I apologize. I'm trying to use visual aid just for help, and it's not going so hot. That's, okay. I got it. Panel's over, bye guys. Hang on.
It's always been discussed.
It's always got to be something, it's fine. I'll leave it on the preview, that's fine. There we go. You can see right here where my mouse is, that right there, that's the chat list. If you click on that, you will see people who are in your stream. The fun thing is that if somebody doesn't talk in your stream, but you see their username there, you also don't know if they're a bot or not, right? So you could look at a list of 10 people, you have 10 viewers, 4 of those viewers might be bots, and bots don't count as viewers generally, but you won't be able to see that they're a bot or a viewer unless they're actually actively talking. So you have to go out of your way, essentially. Yes?
Good thing to keep in mind as well is if you ever want to hit partner, you don't really want bots to hang out in your stream.
Yeah, there are good bots. Good bots are a thing.
Yeah.
So there's like Commander Root, who I actually suggest using. If any of y'all ever end up being targets of hate raids, I actually got follow botted like a month ago. You can use Commander Root to remove those bots as well, like the follow bots. But view bots are also not good, but there are good bots that can hang out in your stream and like track things, as far as that all goes. But in general, yeah, you don't want to have bot viewers because you're not going to hit partner that way. Yes.
Just following on that, there's actually a list of all of the known bots on Twitch that are still live and active. It includes some of those good bots as well, but you can also get rid of a good portion of the bad ones. Yeah, no, you can use one of Commander Root's tools to also automatically run through that list and ban any sort of bot accounts that may be following you or targeting you. Gosh, there's so many people. You first. Yeah.
What is a lurker?
A lurker, it's just somebody who is sitting and watching your stream but not talking in your chat. So if you're sitting in a streamer's stream and you're not talking in their chat, usually like that'll happen with smaller viewers as well. But there's smaller streamers as well. But in bigger streams, your chat message might not be seen, so some people don't bother to talk. You're just lurking in that chat at that point. And that's perfectly fine, if not better than having to talk, in my opinion. I don't like talking to people's chats either. In the back.
Okay, I noticed how there's like Twitch on PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, or anything like that. Is it just like one of those you can just view them, kind of chat through it, but view them on streams, or is it more of a you can actually stream what you're playing, or do you really need to use like a computer?
So on Xbox and PlayStation both, you can stream directly to Twitch using the Twitch app on those platforms. Switch, no, you have to have a capture card to capture all of that. But Xbox and PlayStation, yes, you absolutely can just stream directly to Twitch from those consoles. I only suggest moving to a PC if you decide you want to have some kind of like graphical upgrade.
And is that the same with like chats and everything? You can see their chats, or there's just like a
You would have to pull up your phone. Unfortunately, from what I understand, maybe on PlayStation you can see your chat now that I think about it. On PS4 I know you could for sure. But depending on how you have things set up, yes and no. But if you have your phone up and you're watching your chat, you'll be fine. Okay. Yeah. Franco.
Would streaming help me talk to convention baddies in the future? No, I'm kidding.
I'm not going to answer that question.
No, but serious question. Like, I know that it costs money to stream.
Yes.
And then earning money, well, you don't earn money because, as you said, you're in the red. Would it be advisable that, well, this is a serious question, would it be advisable that you keep the receipts for the games that you purchased and, you make it tax deductible?
Yes, I would heavily advise that. If you hit the point where you would have to pay taxes on your Twitch income, that you have receipts and stuff like that for tax deductibles. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Real quick, I wanted to say, a buddy of mine did VTubing for a while. He didn't pay the receipt, so $35,000 1 year. Next year, he was owed. Same thing happened to me. One thing I wanted to say, been on YouTube for 8 years. And I've always noticed that whenever reaction videos start getting really popular and a lot of creators are getting really big, then they got extremely unpopular amongst creators. But it seems like that's never happened on Twitch, and it does very well for a lot of creators. And there's this big argument amongst YouTube and Twitch like that. Like, totally all right here, Asmund Gold is a good example.
Yeah.
You go to YouTube, and they freaking hate him. A lot of creators do not like Twitch streamers reacting to their content.
No.
Where's this weird discourse?
Well, do you mean like where the dissonance is between the two?
Totally acceptable here, completely unacceptable here.
Well, I think that especially on YouTube, there's genuinely, when I say this, there's a lot more thought that goes into the content that is posted on YouTube versus Twitch, unless it's like stream highlights, in which you're just cutting out highlights from the stream. I think in general, YouTubers value their content more than Twitch streamers do on the respective platforms, right? So if you just make YouTube videos, you probably put more time and effort into your content than a streamer does streaming. So I think that a lot of YouTube creators just value their content more because of the time they put into it, whereas some Twitch streamers, especially streamers like Asmund Gold, anybody who's got a contract to stream a certain amount of hours, they're just trying to fill time. They don't care. And of course their viewers don't care either because, haha, Asmund Gold funny, haha, Ludwig funny. They don't really care. So I would say that it's really just a matter of valuation of content and what the viewer base wants as well. In the back, yes.
Yeah, sorry. In regards to the other question that I had, if you're trying to stream on the console, especially when you have Twitch on the phone, to to do the chat and everything, can you actually talk through the phone, or it's just like plain silent, you're only your like the game conference and
If you're going to be streaming through a console, ideally what I would suggest is you have a headset plugged into your controller, and then you stream, and you use your voice for using the headset, and your voice would transmit with the rest of everything else. So it would be, if you were going to use your phone, the only way you could really talk with chat is by typing in chat. You know what I mean? It'd be one of those things. Any other questions? Yes?
Yeah, we're talking about taking content from Twitch and putting it on other platforms. Would you say that for, let's say, YouTube, it's better to aim for stuff like short form content, like literally shorts, or long form content, like the regular videos?
It depends on the kind of content you're making on Twitch also. What you want to do is show on YouTube the best of what you can offer them live, right? I still don't suggest stream highlights in general, but a lot of my YouTube content personally is YouTube shorts or clips of my live streams because I'm kind of lazy. I started dipping my toes into video essays, so we're doing a little something there. But it really just depends on what your content goal is for Twitch as well as YouTube, I would say. So, say you're doing like, you're trying to post lore videos on YouTube while playing the game you're making lore about, you would want long form videos. But if you're like, look at this cool trick shot I can do, and you're trying to show off your skill, short form content. Stuff like that.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yes?
Is there a stream delay on, there's a stream delay on Twitch. Is that bigger than YouTube?
I actually don't know. I think that depending on how you have your settings set, my stream is almost instantaneous. I want to say it's less than a second delay.
Oh, wow.
But I've also got it set to low latency on purpose, and depending on disconnection issues and other things, more latency can pop up later on in stream. But I also don't know what YouTube's live stream latency is like.
Gotcha.
So it just depends, I'm sure. Any other questions? Yeah, I saw you raise your hand first, so you first.
Okay. I wanted to know, you said that you were more into like JRPG to RPG streaming. What do you do in more story-focused ones like Yakuza, Persona, or something? Do you like try not to talk when something story-wise is going on, or do you like try to make a comment on it?
Well, seeing as how I just played through the first season of The Walking Dead Telltale, I've got a perfect answer for you. I talk over it as long as my chat is talking to me, but I do my best to still pay attention to the game. I think it really depends on what kind of content. Again, this is another one of those, it depends. There's going to be a lot of those depending on the questions. But it really depends on what you want to do. Personally, I will continue talking with my chat, because right now for me, my interaction with my chat is a very big drawing factor of my stream. I like story-based games, but they also like talking to me, and they'd rather I talk to them back than focus on the game. But if you have a community of lore hounds, per se, you would probably want to focus far more on focusing on the game and then going, yeah, sorry guys, no, that was really cool. There's a partnered streamer who I watch. His name is Wizard of Time. I really like him. He's a really good guy, really nice person. He will entirely mute during cutscenes in video games, or get rid of his face cam so the cutscene isn't ruined. It really just depends on your preference. Who else was there? There's somebody else raised their hand. You, yes.
Have you ever had an issue with OBS where the chat does not care at all while streaming for you? So you have to look on your phone?
No, I haven't had that issue. I can't say that I have. Do you use just base OBS, or do you use something else?
I think it was OBS Preview.
OBS, okay, so Streamlabs, oh god. So that may not be entirely your fault. What I would suggest is connecting or disconnecting and reconnecting your Twitch account to Streamlabs itself, because it may just not be refreshing properly. I would also suggest, doing a full restart on your computer. Is this a lasting problem or intermittent?
It's a lasting. Yeah.
Lasting problem. So I would disconnect and reconnect, and then if that still doesn't work, I would suggest maybe switching softwares.
Yeah, I just had to use my phone.
Yeah, no, I would highly suggest using softwares, or switching softwares to like maybe OBS or using Stream Elements instead of Streamlabs. That's not even just my bias talking. If Streamlabs is giving you issues and won't let you see your chat, maybe you should move off to something else.
Okay.
Yes?
What do you think is the best way to reach out and reach more people while streaming?
While streaming actively?
Or not necessarily while streaming, but just in general.
Just in general?
Yeah.
I would say, there's a gnat in here, oh gosh. I would say in general, social media I think is the best one as far as reaching out to other creators. Otherwise, unfortunately, platforms like TikTok are really good for bringing people to your stream, because there's so much more eyes put on that sort of content. So like YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok, short form content is probably the best way to get more people on, more people's eyes on your content. But in general, I would say just making content on other platforms in general is probably the best way to bring people to you. Which is really annoying when you think about it, because it's like, I want to stream, I just want to play video games, I don't want to have to do all this extra work. But unfortunately, in general, you kind of have to, which just sucks. Oh, yes?
So what would you say is the best way to get your friends to help you grow, genuinely without feeling like you're just using them to help you grow?
Well, in general, if they're your friend, they will want to help you genuinely. I would certainly hope so anyway, you know. So like for example, Steele back here, that's my husband. He has helped me since I started. Very just, you know, really great guy. I like him a lot. Peepo claps. Yay. But I think that it really depends on what kind of friends they are. Are they gaming friends? Are they real life friends? Because for me, I had it easy because a lot of the people who helped me when I first started streaming were like gaming friends, right? All of my mods are people who I met through the internet, right? None of them are like real life friends. That's not to say your real life friends can't help you or can't, you know, sit on your streams and hang out, but they might not be as willing. If that makes any sense at all, yeah. Anybody else? Any other questions? Oh. You in the back first.
Oh, okay. I stream competitive Pokemon, but how do I kind of push younger children out of my stream?
Ban them. Ban them. Just ban them, I promise. Put in your rules and just be like, if you're under 18, get out of my stream. I believe Pokemon Challenges does that as well. He does Nuzlocke, it's not competitive Pokemon, but he does Nuzlocke. Nobody under 18 in his Discord server or his, you know, his chat at all. He just bans them automatically. If you see somebody acting like they're young, just ban them. It just in general, just ban them. That's it. I saw you raise your hand, so yes.
How often would you say copyright becomes a problem for you?
I have never had it be a problem for me because I don't use copyrighted music in my streams. I also didn't stream very heavily when we first had a lot of issues with like in-game sounds being claimed either. But in general, as long as you avoid using music or anything that is considered copyrighted, which is a lot of stuff, if not basically everything at this point, just be careful, make sure you go through, because there's lots of, in general, what people get hit for is music, right? So you want to look into something like Monster Cat Gold or Pretzel Rocks or use Stream Beats, even though, you know, that could be a whole thing too by itself. Stream Beats is safe, but it's dubious, depending on how things go. Just look into things that will cover your ass and your ass will be covered. Let's just put it that way. I saw in the back, there were 2 hands. Whoever first, and then we'll...
Would you say that like a lot of the other creators could have to do with like networking because it's more popular?
Yes, it is absolutely a good form of networking. It is a it's part of that genuine thing that we were talking about. In order to collab with somebody, you want to genuinely be friends with them and also genuinely be engaged in their community. The only way collabing will help you is if they know who you are to begin with, right? So if you want to collab with somebody or do anything like that, you want to make sure that their community knows who you are beforehand, so you're going to want to be friends in their community and genuinely engaged and all that good stuff. So, yes, it's a very good way with that big but that you need to be active in their community as well, so people are already incentivized to stick around. Anybody else? Yes?
Okay, so just like him, I started streaming myself. A couple views. Not only that I do streaming games, but I also stream myself opening up some packs of Pokemon cards. Can you just get away with just using just the phone instead of just using the camera or anything like that, like one of those cameras?
Yeah, in general I would say so, especially, do you have an Android or an Apple phone?
Android.
Android? Yeah, especially because the Android app on Twitch just recently, are you talking about like using like via your phone for that? To the computer, or from your phone straight?
Just the phone straight.
Just the phone straight, yeah. Since,
whatsoever.
yeah, no, you can just use the phone. I believe that right now, let me pop it open. The update was like last week, I think, but you can just hit the create button up at the top. It'll pull you in, and then just, you know, go live. All I would suggest is having like a stand, so that, you know, your phone doesn't move.
Most of my streaming is just on Facebook, and I can just like transfer that over to stream once I get like a big community or everything, and just transfer it over to Twitch like someone else just mentioned, right?
Yeah, no, that would absolutely be possible. Not everybody will stick necessarily, but the people who do stick will be more invested in you and your content than they may have initially been.
So like, I said a good number, like 60 would be a good number, correct? Somewhere.
Like average viewers?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say so. I think that it also depends on the content you intend to continue making over on Twitch as well. Just feel it out, see what people think, you know, put out feelers around, hey, how would you guys feel if I decided to stream on Twitch instead? And get kind of like a feeling for your community before you make the jump. I saw somebody else raise their hand over in that section too. Yes?
As far as kids YouTubing goes, what are your opinions on that?
I love it, I think it's great. Just like VTubing, I think it's a great, like a more serious answer, I think it's a great alternative for people who don't necessarily want their face on screen, because that's entirely understandable. I think it's cute, I think it's fun. One of my friends goes back and forth between their 2D live model that they hand drew themselves and a PNG tuber model, depending on what game they're playing, because their computer's not very good. I think it's good. I think it's great. Any other questions? Yes?
Just to follow up on that, kind of joking, what's it called? What is it considered catfishing if you throw up a pink YouTuber of a clown girl while you're a guy?
Why don't you ask Franco that question? I'm sure you can have an answer.
What did he say?
Is it catfishing to have a girl PNG tuber if you're a boy?
No, I don't think so.
It's not. I don't think so either, but you know.
Mind you, I'm a cross player here, so I'm not necessarily catfishing. So, to answer your question, no, I don't think.
Okay.
Why'd you throw me in?
Because you're cross-playing, Franco, that's why.
Yeah,
any other questions from y'all? Because if not, I'll let y'all go. You guys can go line up for the next panel or whatever. Also, if y'all were too embarrassed to ask in front of a crowd, I'm going to be here for like another 10 minutes, probably packing things up. So if y'all want to come and ask me questions, you know, face to face, I'm more than happy to do that with y'all. Thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you for putting up with me in my first panel. Y'all are great and wonderful, and I love you. And have the rest of your have a good rest of St. Japan. I'm gonna die.